What's up, everyone? If you don't know me, my name is Denzel Mensah. I'm an ENFJ 9-wing-1 social sexual. I'm a life personal development and relationship coach. And today, I just wanted to share my top 5 insights slash lessons, things I've been reminded of in 2023. Let's get it. So 2023 has definitely been a year. And I think that we can say that about a lot of years. But this year has been yet another one where many lessons have been learned. And especially in my case, I turned 29 on December 8th. And it's always interesting having a December birthday because now you get to reflect both on the year that's coming up and then also like the year that you just had and you becoming a new age. And so it's like thinking that even though it's still 12 months from now, I'm going to be finally ushering into my 30s. And it's like, okay, what are the last experiences? What are the last things, the last nuggets of wisdom that I need to be gleaning in this last year of 29 before I enter into my 30s? What things am I going to be leaving behind? So December is always like a lot of like reflection for me, both because again of my birthday, but then also the new year coming up. And as I was reflecting on this year, which was extremely eventful, I'd like to think that because I had grown so much in ways that, I grow every year, but this year's been extremely like pivotal in many ways, as I've explained a lot in my Phoenix of the Gold Coast video, evolving through flames. I would really like to take the time to also share some of these insights and some of the things that I've learned with anybody who's willing to actually listen and maybe might learn from them as well. So I've compiled a list of 5 different things, and I'll give the headlines for each of them. And then we're going to go into like a little bit of the subtopics, and I'll probably provide a little bit of context. And these are not necessarily things that might be incredibly monumental or, things that are, probably even things that you probably don't already know. But I do think that they were at the very least some good reminders that we should continue to be aware of. And especially for myself, like for me to continue to remember as I carry into this next year, as I am also now stepping into my 30s next year. And so with that being said, we'll stop and we'll go right into number 1, which was God is so much bigger than what I could have ever imagined. Now, I grew up in a very strong Christian household, a very strong Christian family, a lot of like Christian traditions and values and things of that nature. I went to Liberty University. I really had like it wasn't just being a Christian, it was actually like really diving into it and really learning so much about Christianity in general. And I would have liked to think, not even just like to think, I actually firmly believe that I developed a very strong relationship with God, with the universe, with the divine, whatever any of you might call him. And throughout my faith journey, I've been expanding my view of God. And this year especially, so it started a few years ago, but this year was when it really crystallized for me. A few years ago, I already felt God pulling me in a different direction, which was very unconventional for, the stereotypical Christian. And it was a lot of like conflict that I was having. I even already knew that other Christians would not understand and they would become very frustrated with me and, things of that nature. And I predicted that accurately. Granted, this year, I kind of doubted back then, and I was even afraid of a lot of the things, a lot of the experiences that I was starting to have, a lot of the ways that I was starting to think, a lot of the prayers that I was having and the answers I was getting from those prayers. I was starting to like dwell on certain verses like, oh, Do not like listen to vain philosophies because they're going to like sway you away, like all of these different things. But as I continued to pray more, as I continued to really lean into God, as I really continued to reflect, as I continued to pay attention to omens, all the different signs that God has out there, then I started to actually really notice just how much He was really guiding me on the path that I was on, that there was a divine orchestration that was going with everything. And even though I didn't understand everything at the time, and even right now, there's still a lot of question marks, there are also a lot of answers, a lot of synchronicities, a lot of omens that have been unveiled, a lot of symbols, a lot of divine interpretations that have been going on to further unveil to me and show me like, whoa, yeah, you're not only walking on the right path, but you're walking on the path that's most meant for you, me. And that has been monumental because I had always been so afraid of what other people would think. I was always so afraid that, especially if other people thought differently or thought that I was on the wrong path, I would start to doubt my own journey. But as I continued to push forward, as I continued to really like seek, like, hey, if anything, it would have been the easier way to go the way that I was already going the past several years. But now that I had shifted, it's a lot more difficult. But at the same time, I haven't ever had more peace because I'm most certain now of where I'm actually like headed or how I'm being guided. And that's why I say God is so much bigger than what I thought. Because when I had really strong, strictly Christian beliefs, then I saw God very expanded. I saw that, yeah, God is a divine orchestrator. God created the heavens and earth, and a lot of the ways that I view God, even still like right now, then I saw Him in such awe and wonder. But then as I've grown more, especially this year, I've seen how much His hand is really in so many other things that even Christianity itself disassociates itself from. And Christianity, like Christians might even see this and they would disagree, and that is totally fine. I totally welcome you to respectfully disagree, and we can just hold our own differing opinions. But from what I've discovered, from what I've been able to see, from what I've been able to witness, I've seen God's hand move in other different types of ways that Christianity itself would not necessarily approve of or associate itself with. And that has really opened my eyes even more to just how God runs the earth, how God actually influences humanity, how God influences the spiritual realm. And that has left me in a lot of even more awe and wonder than before. Like God is not to be boxed. God is so much more vast than how we may see Him. And a lot of Christians would also say the same thing, but they're coming from a different angle. And I'm not to say that they're wrong, which is part of the beauty of what I've been noticing. There's not necessarily a right or wrong when it comes to this kind of aspect, in my personal opinion. It's more about perception and how God uses our specific perception and faith. And that's a big thing that I've learned too. The difference between fact and faith and how God also uses that. So that has been really big for me. And the reason why that's such a huge lesson is because that's led me to further explore the beauties of what God has left for us here on earth. We have a lot of like people who might be so heavenly minded that they fail to actually see the wonderful things that are here on this planet. So even if they're focused on maybe getting to heaven or whatever it might be, they can be so focused that they're asleep to whatever the world is. And a lot of them, they're like, well, I don't want to be worldly. But there's still a reason why you're here on this world, even if you're not of this world. And I think that there is no sin to understanding the world around you and grasping the beauty of it. Even if we're going into biblical ways, like, God saw that it was good in the beginning, and seeing the good in all of the things around you, seeing the beauty in all of it, as you're continuing to head toward where God has destined for you particularly. So that has been something that's really been unveiled to me, especially through my meditations, through my prayers, through shroom trips, and that's been monumental. So that is definitely the number one thing I wanted to put on this list. The second thing that I would say that I really came to learn, understand, or be reminded of in 2023 was just how rich and complex and powerful this concept of love is. Now, when we think about love, and I've talked about love on my channel over and over and over again, but it's kind of like this hole that the floor beneath it continues to cave in more and more and show just how deep this concept, this idea, this force can really get to, and it just keeps on going to the point where it's like you're never really going to reach its core because it's infinite. And that's pretty much the big part of it. Love is such an infinite source, but I've really seen over this year just how many people have a scarcity view of it when it comes to platonic love, when it comes to romantic love, whether it comes to even sometimes familial love, whatever type of love that you're looking at, you'll see that there are a lot of people who are struck with jealousy, who are struck with envy, who are struck with possessiveness, who are struck with certain types of insecurities. And when you really come to understand love, or at least start to understand its vastness, then I'd even venture to say that it almost becomes difficult to allow certain emotions such as envy, malice, strife, vengeance, even certain insecurities, all of these types of things, possessiveness, all of these things, it becomes very difficult for them to be nurtured within you if love also resides in you. I really always loved the verse, to take this right back over to biblical scripture and everything like that, where it says, perfect love casts out all fear. And the way that I understand that verse is that when you really understand love, then you aren't fearful that, oh no, I'm going to lose my friend if they get another friend. Oh no, I'm going to lose my partner if they even start to be attracted to somebody else, or whatever it might be. And when you don't have that kind of fear, when you don't have that kind of insecurity, and on top of that, it's not just the confidence, but then you're also working toward that, because obviously if you're not doing anything, then of course, yeah, your friend is going to replace you with somebody else, because what did you expect? You're not investing in that friend. But love doesn't just give you, like, a true understanding of love, and true actual love is not just a state of mind. It's also action. So that causes you to not just be confident and secure with where you stand with a person or with different people, but it also causes action for you to invest in those people. And as you're investing in those people, then you're doing it out of a wholesome purity that allows you to not only secure your confidence and secure your security in the dynamic, but also to further allow the dynamic to propel forward. That way, any types of insecurity, any types of malice, any types of vengeance, any types of possessiveness, all of that would be nullified. It doesn't mean that it will never spring up within you, because you are human, but you will find ways to be able to navigate it, and it can't live in you for long. It can't reside in you for long, because that love is light, and it casts out that fear, it casts out that anxiety, it casts out that darkness. Love is the most powerful force that human beings can ever experience. And the more that we all come to understand this force, love, then the more that we are actually able to commune in ways that are so divinely above our intellect. It's so divinely above anything that we can possibly fathom. If we have love backed with every single thing that we do, this world really would be a better place. And it's such a hippie thing to say, but that's just the truth that I've come to really deeply understand. I've allowed my mind to open a lot more and to be able to explore certain concepts. And over the past few years, I became very interested in the idea of polyamory. As an ENFJ, then of course, having FE as a dominant function, and then you have an intuitive function that's also like interested in like, okay, what's really going on behind the scenes? And I'm a social, sexual, and subtype in the Enneagram. Like I'm very interested in interpersonal dynamics. Anything that's getting into interpersonal nuances, that is right up my alley. So when I, finally started to allow myself to understand this concept of polyamory, to start exploring it, asking people questions about it, stuff of that, I really found a lot of answers for it, that showed me just how much rich beauty and maturity that concept alone has. Now, that doesn't mean that it's for everybody. And I'm not even saying that monogamy is necessarily a bad thing. I think that there's value to both lifestyles. And I know that might be problematic to a lot of different people to hear me even say. But to me, it's the truth. And I think that because love is so vast and so powerful, those who really come to understand polyamory also understand the sacredness of being able to have a heart that's able to hold many. And they are able to understand the value of each individual. Just like if you were to have 5 different children, you would not be the type of person, hopefully, that's like, oh man, one of my children died, but at least I have 4 more and I can just make another one. No, because you had a very specific relationship with that one child that died. And so in the same sense, those who are really practicing polyamory, carefully, there's a lot of communication that goes on first and foremost. A lot of people like to say like, oh, that's just the easy way out. They just want to do. I was one of those people. I used to actually like judge a lot of people. Oh yeah, they just want to like sleep around and do this. But it's a lot more deep than what it actually might be. And again, this isn't to say that it's for everyone, but it really does have its own level of sacredness. It really does have its own level of depth and understanding, maturity. It takes a lot of maturity. It takes a lot of communication. It really challenges the human mind and the human heart all at once to be able to move forward in a way that society has not always done. But it's also funny because if you think about into the past time, society has actually done a lot of this, but that was a lot more patriarchally led, when it came to like polygamy and stuff like that, which is the practice of actually like a man marrying more than one woman, and women could not do that. So anyway, I believe that polyamory has its own level of sacredness, and from even just trying to explore the concept and the idea of it, talking to people who are polyamorous, who have practiced it and everything like that. Again, it's not that it's perfect and that it doesn't have any downsides. Just like monogamy, it also is not perfect and it also has its downsides. These two things can both hold themselves up, and understanding both of these things allows you to also further understand the sacredness of love. It allows you to further understand how much love can really be such a powerful force, how much love is actually strong, and it's limitless, it's infinite. It gives you the ability to really rise above your own jealousy, to really tackle your own insecurities, and to be able to understand how you actually really feel about a person, and how they might feel about you, and how to invest in that person so that you can put yourself in a place of security, to how to really make relationships become valuable. I think that there's so much to love, and I made a few videos on love. Like I said, plenty of them. I talk a lot about, the different ways that the Greeks defined love. And then I also talked about, platonic intimacy. And then I also talked about the power of love and so many different other things, even in friendships, like how to have fulfilling and lasting friendships. But yeah, love itself is really such a huge thing. And I think that also leads to, this idea that I like to call like 69 worship, which is, in essence, it's kind of an attack against envy. Rather than actually envying somebody else, especially a friend of yours, you instead give them an actual authentic praise, an actual authentic like affirmation. When you see them boosting up in certain levels of confidence, you want to be a part of that. You want to assist them in being able to get up there. And if they also are a good friend and they also have genuine spirits, then they will do the same right back to you. And the reason why I call it like a 69 kind of worship thing is because, we all know what 69 is, but it's not just like a taking or just a receiving. It's a give and take, a give and receive, a reciprocated kind of thing, where between these friends, between all of the people who are involved, you are reciprocating this act of affirmation, uplifting, motivation, while also, if you are surrounded by the right people, they will be returning it right back. If y'all are all lifting each other up, then even when some of you have bouts of confidence and everything, rather than viewing that person as like, like they're on the road to pomposity, narcissism, something along those lines. You look at that person, it's like, man, I love that. As long as they're, of course, not pushing anybody else down. And that's the difference. There's a difference between somebody who starts to really feel themselves, who starts to really grow and allow themselves to like be confident, and yet they're also praising everybody else and helping them to be confident, versus somebody who's like very cocky, arrogant, and then they actually think lesser of other people and they're quick to also put other people down. We are able to tell the difference. And if you know people who are more of the former, try to also be one of those people that boosts them up. Because in doing that, you also are creating an alliance almost for them to be able to also boost you up. Because that's how love works. One of the many ways that love works. But anyway, let's move on. So the third lesson, a reminder that I've had this year in 2023, is that authenticity is a repellent and a lure. And so what I mean by that is, a few years ago, I made a video called The Twitter Effect. I didn't really have like a fancy concept or name for it. If you want, you can go and look it up. But in essence, what I said in that video was that I realized this thing, and it's not, again, anything like super monumental or whatever like that, life-changing, but I realized this thing on Twitter where if the more that you tweet about the things that you actually like and that you're actually passionate about, the things that you actually want, the more followers that you will lose, but then also the more followers that you will gain. And so then it almost kind of seems like if I were to be standing in a room and I was just constantly speaking out loud, like into a microphone, about the things that I love, the things that I hate, all of that. Maybe somebody could even say what I do on my YouTube channel. There's going to be a constant flux of people who are both walking in just to check out what I'm saying. They don't like it, they leave. Or they might like some of the things I'm saying, but then some other things might trigger them, they leave. Or there'll be people who are like, hey, what's that guy saying? And they love everything that I'm saying. And then because they like some of the other stuff I'm saying, they want to hear even more of it. So literally, in continuing to be myself, and continuing to really express my own authentic nature, then I have to expect that I'll be losing people. People that I might have attached to, people that were probably there for a season. As I continue to grow and mature, then I am going to become more of a person that I heard a quote one time, and it was something along the lines of, when you start to change, the reason why it pisses people off is because they were just learning how to use you, or they were just learning how to kind of like keep you in their box. You know what I mean? And I believe there's like truth to that. You know, as soon as you start to like shift it up on certain people, now they can't control you anymore. They feel like you're unpredictable. So they start getting a little bit nervous, and then they start to like retaliate against that. Don't let that hold you back. I really love the idea of marrying yourself. And to be totally honest, I actually just recently had a conversation about that with a friend of mine who's being coached by Antonia. She's an INFJ and she's also an Enneagram 9. And one of the things that we had talked about in depth was this idea of her writing out vows to herself. Because the only person that you are going to be in a relationship with for your entire life, the only person is you. And when you really grasp that concept, then that means that it's incredibly important. It's incredibly vital that you honor yourself amongst anybody else. Because if you betray yourself, you are to be with yourself for the rest of your life. Everywhere you go, there you are. That's why it's so important to do shadow work. That's why it's so important to really get to understand and to know yourself. Before this idea of like marrying yourself, I always thought of the idea of dating yourself. And that's something that I actually do often. You know, really taking the time to sit with myself, to get intimate with myself, to be able to understand myself on a deeper level, knowing who I am. That way, whenever somebody even tries to tell me who I'm not, I'm able to quickly identify. No, I've spent time with myself in an honest and raw manner, and I've come to love myself. So that way I can admit like, dang, yeah, no, you're right. You saying this about me, that's true. That I have to admit. It's something that I'm working on. Or it's something I'm not even able to work on. It's just part of my nature. But no, that's false. And this is why. You know? And so when you really get to know yourself, when you really fall in love with yourself, then you also attract other people who will fall in love with you. Not romantically. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe romantically too. But that's not the point that I'm making over here. The point that I'm making is that it's incredibly vital to keep authenticity up. And it doesn't matter if you have introverted feeling FI in your stack or not. Really get intimate with yourself. And then when you express that authentic self, then you will repel people who don't vibe with you. And that is okay. That is okay. Because the more that you repel those people, that repellent is also going to be an aroma that wafts through your force field that you're creating, that aura that you have everywhere you go. And it's going to attract the right people, the right tribe near you. And those will be the people that'll actually continue to walk with you, and they'll continue to also help sharpen you as you do the same with them. And those people are way more rich than the other people that have left. That's not to say that the other people are evil, that they're haters and stuff like that. They might be, but don't focus on that. They might actually be just as amazing of people, but they're just different because the world needs different types of people. That's how God works. One of the things, going back to number 1. So just because you might not be one of those people and they might not be one of your type of people doesn't mean that all of a sudden they are now haters, narcissists, whatever it might be. Y'all just separated. They were there for a season and now they're gone. Maybe they weren't even there at all. But at the end of the day, allow yourself to really fall in love with yourself. One of the ideas that I brought up with my friend, the INFJ friend that I was talking to, is this idea of like having like a younger brother that you might have just met. That younger brother represents a part of you, who you are as a person, right? And if you are getting to know this younger brother, maybe they're a little bit weird and you already have your friend group and your friend group sees that you're with this younger brother, right? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh man, why are you bringing this younger brother around? You should ditch him. Boom, boom, boom. If you're not really close to this younger brother, then you're going to have an issue with actually being able to defend that younger brother. You're instead going to allow yourself to give in to your friends and to ditch the younger brother. You're going to be embarrassed of that younger brother. But if you allow yourself to have one-on-one time with that younger brother, really get intimate with them, really allow them to become someone that you love, an extension of yourself, to the point where you value that relationship, even if you just met them, more than your relationship with your friends. Now, when your friends try to get you to ditch your younger brother, which once again represents an aspect of yourself in this, analogy that I'm using, now you'll be more inclined to defend that younger brother. You'll be more inclined to defend that aspect of yourself. And now you give them that ultimatum. Either the friends can hang out with you and accept you / your younger brother for who you are and allow that to be integrated, or they can bounce. They don't have to stick around. But don't allow that to stifle your growth. I've talked to so many people who are fearful of growing because they believe that they will outgrow the people around them. And then they'll be so far up at the top that they will not meet more complementary people. And it saddened me. You're stunting your own growth, your own authenticity, because you're afraid that, my boyfriend might not be able to keep up and etc. That's sad. I really, really, really advise that you're careful of such things and you don't allow yourself to be a victim to such a mentality. Remember, your authenticity will both repel people and lure people. Fourth lesson that I've learned in 2023, or again been reminded of, is that it's really important for people to learn things on their own. And especially as an ENFJ, somebody who admittedly tends to have a God complex of thinking that I know what's best for people and I can see ahead what they're about to run into, etc. And wanting to warn them, like, please don't do it, don't do this, don't make this choice, whatever it might be. I've really found how important it is that even though I can see that they're going to get into a crash, it's vital that I sometimes allow them to without warning them. Or I might warn them, but still allow them to do whatever they need to, so that maybe next time when I might warn them, then they can actually have enough receipts of times like, okay, every single time that Denzel has warned me, this is what he's warned me of has actually happened. But if they just listen to me right away, sure, they might avoid the thing ahead, but then they also won't have any actual proof that, maybe he actually knew what he was talking about. So sometimes, or a lot of times, people need to learn lessons on their own. Now, I did a whole video about this, I believe earlier this year. And so if you want even more details on that one, make sure to go check out that video. But yeah, essentially, that's definitely been something that I've really been learning more and more, just as I've been also learning my own lessons. There's a lot of things that people warned me about, could have warned me about, and a lot of times I'm grateful because I've been able to avoid many mistakes that others have made due to their warnings, due to me even asking them for advice in these areas. But there's also a lot of instances where if I had just listened to them and everything, sure, I might have avoided it, but there would have been lessons that I did not actually learn. I just avoided some certain things. And so I really do believe that everything happens for a reason. Made a video on that too, divine orchestration. And I believe that the things that God has allowed us to actually go through have their own gold, their own diamonds in the dust. And once the dust settles, once you're able to get through it, once you're able to make it through whatever you've been through, then there's a huge diamond of insight there for anybody who actually seeks it, the lesson that you learn, and then you move forward with that lesson as a stronger, more powerful person. So if you are the person who needs to be taught more lessons, go ahead and do so. If you are the person who's usually trying to tell other people, like, hey, stop, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Like I'm trying to tell you, if you have this sort of Cassandra complex, a prophetic way of being able to foretell how an event might go, and people just aren't able to really understand or follow it, don't be too dismayed about it. Honestly, it's something that they just might have to go through, and that's okay. they'll probably be just fine. And last but not least, the fifth lesson that I've learned this year especially is that it's okay to be young and dumb, even when you're wise and experienced. Now, the reason why I put wise and experienced in quotations is because I might not be wise and experienced. It's just my own self-perception. And I've realized that the older that I get, the more that I realize how much dumber I actually was than what I thought I was when I thought that I was wise. So I already know that, especially at the age of 29, the 40-year-old version of me will look back and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that I actually thought XYZ, or that I actually thought ABC, whatever. So at the end of the day, you can only do the best with what you actually know at the time. And this goes back with number 4. There are so many lessons I had to learn this year. I've done so many stupid things. And there were at least 1 or 2 huge, colossal, foolish things that either I had done or that caught up with me. Even though I was already shifting from those things, they still caught me, and it was like, man, this is crazy. I cannot believe how dumb I was. I should know better. I got very hard on myself. And it was actually Antonia Dodge who told me, like, yo, Denzel, cut yourself some slack. At the end of the day, you're still in your 20s. And do you know how stupid I was when I was in my 20s? Which is so funny to me because I look at Antonia like, oh my gosh, you're so wise, you're so intelligent, blah, 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 blah. And so to be reminded that in her 20s, she was probably even more foolish, as she claims, more stupid, done even more absurd things. And even certain other friends that I've had that are much older than me, and they told me about how they were in their 20s and how they see me as still very different. It's like, okay, yes, I should definitely recognize that I have tried to excel my own maturity by getting into personal development, by, really gleaning insight and wisdom from many different people, especially those who are older than me. That's how I was able to be doing life coaching to begin with. But I'm still learning about life. I'm still growing as a person. Therefore, when I make mistakes, when I do something completely absurd, dumb, foolish, insane, whatever it might be, I need to cut myself some slack. I need to be able to, yes, identify that this was a mistake. You probably shouldn't do that again, all of that, whatever. But after I've identified all of that and I've taken the lesson from it, I let it go. And I give myself grace to understand, like, look, you're still young. It was a learning experience. Just do better now moving forward. The damage has been done. And I want to extend that to you. Even if you're older than I am. Even if you're, in your 40s or your 50s, your 60s. You don't have to be young to be human. Humans will always make mistakes. And you're always trying to do the best that you can with what you have. So let's also give other people that type of grace. Let's also try to assume that they're also doing the best that they can do with what they have. And give them that space to be able to grow as you're also growing. And so that's what I have for y'all today. Next year, I already have a lot of different plans. Like I said, I'm really stepping into a different era in my mindset, in the things I've been pursuing, the types of thoughts that I've been having. Some of y'all might like it. A lot of y'all might not. If y'all been following me for this long, though, I appreciate it. Seriously, I really appreciate y'all rocking with me this long. This isn't a channel that I've tried to make a Frank James type of channel where it just explodes every single time I throw a video up and everything. But I've really fostered some intimate viewers here, and I just want to say that I really appreciate y'all for taking the time to actually share my content, for y'all commenting, liking the videos, actually watching them to begin with, especially ones like this where it's so lengthy. I appreciate all of your support. Those of you who seek coaching from me, love y'all. Y'all help me eat food. So I appreciate it. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have your own top 5 things that you've learned, if you have any things to comment on any of my top 5, definitely leave them in the comments below. Definitely hit me up on my email if you want. It should be in the description. And yeah, lastly, I guess I just want to wish y'all Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And please do not forget, you matter. Done. Thank you for taking the time to watch that video. And if you enjoyed that, please like and subscribe. It actually really helps out my channel a lot, so that more people who actually care about what I want to say can actually find me a lot more easier. Also, if you did enjoy it, then maybe you'll enjoy a lot of my other content as well. So be sure to check out some of my playlists where you'll be able to find a lot of my older videos and older content. And last but not least, if you would like any profiling sessions or coaching sessions, be sure to check out denzelmensah.com, where you'll be able to book me and you'll see the rest of my services. But thanks again and have a great day.